for peace of mind, for justice. For the first day, they wake up and don't immediately think of this. Beth Nissen, CNN, New York.
This is CNN.
The recovery begins in New York City, one step at a time. Schools do reopen today, the airport's on a limited basis. But the news is grim. The rescue work is also going on at a time when the medical examiner says he has 5,000 body bags in stock, but plans to order 5,000 more. On the investigative front, a man and his brother, suspected hijackers from Saudi Arabia, just two of the many suspects the government is zeroing in on this morning, 46 hours after terrorist attack the United States of America. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm Paula Zahn, reporting from New York.
And I'm Miles O'Brien from the CNN Center in Atlanta. Good morning to Paula, New York. I assume some debate
And Miles, we're going to start off this morning by talking about how the investigation is proceeding on a number of fronts. We go to Eileen O'Connor, who will help us understand what has transpired over the last 12 hours. Eileen, a bunch of men taken into custody, some of them released. What do we know at this hour?
Well, we know, Paula, that German police have in fact brought in for questioning a woman and an airport worker in Hamburg. Now, federal law enforcement authorities here were led to Hamburg to investigate that city because of links with two suspected hijackers. One is Mohammed Atta, the other one is Marwan al-Shaki. Now, both of those men, police were led to, law enforcement officials were led to through a car that was seized at Logan Airport. It was a Mitsubishi. It was rented, a rental car, but it was rented by Mohammed Atta. And inside that car was some very helpful information, a flight training manual, and some documents. And of course, Atta, in doing a cross-check of his documents, it led him back to Florida and to a flight training school in Coral Springs, in Venice, at the airport in Venice, and to an address in Coral Springs. Police have been to that address. They have searched that address. They have also spoken to the head of that flight school and to another man who was a landlord for these two men for a few weeks. And so authorities have linked that car and these suspected hijackers. Again, also there is another linkage to another group of pilots. These were the men that went from Portland, Maine, and now police were led to them because of a car that they impounded in Portland, Maine. This led them to Adnan Bukhari and Amir Bukhari, and we have pictures of both of those men. Now, they were living in Vero Beach, Florida, which is also, and they were indicated, their records indicated that they had attended a flight school in Vero Beach, Flight Safety International. This, as you see, is a picture of Adnan Bukhari. His brother Amir lived across town. Now, next door to Adnan was a man named Amari, is the name we're getting, Al-Amari, and they are looking at him perhaps as another suspected hijacker, or perhaps law enforcement sources are telling me as a material witness. They are seeking that man. Now, these two brothers went to this Flight Safety International school, and again, as I said, they were linked to this car rented in Portland. Police believe that all these four men were the two sets of pilots that ended up flying those two flights out of Boston, the flights that actually went into the World Trade Center. Law enforcement authorities are looking at other flight schools in Florida, and they are looking there because they believe that other pilots were in fact trained at other flight schools in Florida, and are the ones that will be linked eventually to the Newark flight and to the Dulles flight. Now, they started looking at flight schools, obviously through those rental cars, but also because the authorities believed it took great skill to fly those planes into the World Trade Center towers, and also great skill to maneuver into the Pentagon. So right now they're back tracing all of these men's steps, and they also have leads on some other steps that some of the other hijackers may have taken. Paula?
All right, Eileen, you've described for us this morning the role that four of those pilots might play, or the set of brothers and the other pilots. There is a theory being debated right now based on what Attorney General John Ashcroft said yesterday, that each one of these planes had anywhere from 3 to 6 people on board involved with a hijacking. There is a theory that it's possible that a number of these men didn't even know each other, and that they waited on board before they were given some sort of signal to commandeer the jet. Can you provide any more information on that this morning?
Yes, I can. I've spoken to law enforcement investigators, some of the investigators, and they say they are looking increasingly at the likelihood that the two pilots would have known each other. But then when they got aboard these planes, that then there was another group of about 3 individuals who they did not know, who came from other cells, they are calling them. And those individuals then, through some signal, either it was those individuals who gave a signal to the pilots through some overt action, at which point everyone knew that they should get up and start their jobs, that they had all been tasked to individual jobs. They also, you know, Paula is saying they do have leads. They know that 2 men traveled through Bar Harbor, Maine, on the ferry from Nova Scotia. They're working with Canadian police on leads there. Law enforcement sources are also telling me that they believe there was a cell acting out of west of Boston for a year, looking into that. And again, you also have 3 people detained for questioning as material witnesses in Boston, hoping, they say, to get some leads through that. Paula?
Well, given, Eileen, everything you're telling us this morning, does that indicate then that the FBI and other federal agents actually were tracking the movements of these folks even before this happened?
We are not sure of that. They're now looking backwards and saying, and what we do have from some sources is that there may have been some indications, according to Time magazine, that as early as June, that that there were some indications of some kind of action, but it was so vague that they were not sure. As you know, at that time, we do know that the U.S. embassies were put on a heightened state of alert around the world. So again, these kinds of vague intelligence doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily specific enough to have led them to these men earlier. But right now they are, of course, backtracking, and they're picking up a lot of leads by looking at all of these men that they do know about and cross-checking their backgrounds and their documentation. And also, Paula, one thing we should point out that Atta and al-Sherhi possessed UAE passports, but we spoke to the United Arab Emirates officials in the government there, and they say that they were not citizens of the UAE. Now, also in Vero Beach, those Bukhari brothers possessed documents that showed they were Saudis. Paula?
All right, Eileen Connor, thanks for that wealth of information. We'll be checking on with you a little bit later on this morning. Back here in New York City, as I mentioned earlier on, the recovery begins one step at a time. The public schools are open today. They open 2 hours late to give teachers and counselors a time to discuss exactly how they are going to confront students with the reality of what has happened here in our city. At this moment, some 100 buildings have been damaged in the area surrounding the World Trade Center, and right now we're going to go to Michael Lakou to give us an update on what rescue workers are finding this morning. Michael.
Good morning, Paula. Right now, the first thing on my mind is that this is a city in contrast. Just due north of me, you might not be able to see it from the cameras, of course, but just due north of me, New Yorkers are waking up to a rising sun, and it is a beautiful, beautiful sight. And yet behind me, a completely different story. This plume of smoke that has come to symbolize what has happened here, the total devastation, has become rather black, and it is moving due east, right up against the rising sun, just east of this site towards Queens and part of Brooklyn. Rescue workers, of course, worked throughout the night. As of last night, 82 bodies, of course, were found. Rescue workers are telling us that they are finding actually more body parts than they're actually finding bodies. Of course, the number of those who have been found is expected to rise, and perhaps dramatically at some point today. Mayor Giuliani, as you mentioned at the top of the hour here, has asked for more body bags. He's asked the Federal Emergency Medical Management Agency for more than 6,000 body bags. And of course, there may be some additional requests as the day continues. Just outside of this ring here, along the West Side Highway due west of us, there are trucks lining up, waiting to take more of the bodies to various parts of the city. Pockets of fire inside the site right now behind us. You might not be able to see it because of the plume of smoke, which of course is like a pall that has descended over the city. Now, there is indication at some point today that there's been a strain on hospitals. Mayor Giuliani has stressed the fact that the city is prepared for this and people are working ceaselessly to try to attend to victims. But they do say that they need more clothes, that they need more beds for medical staff who have been working overnight to sleep on. And they certainly continue to ask for more blood. Paula?
So, Michael, before I let you go, I know you've had a chance to talk to rescue workers who have been in and out of there. What are they telling you about what they have seen?
Well, you can't use negative words too much for a story like this. It is absolutely gruesome. When I say that this plume of smoke is like a pall that's descended over the city, well, it's the rescue workers who are at ground zero seeing this. There's twisted metal, there is debris all over the street. There are basically inches of ash and soot, what appears to be ash and soot, which of course is just material and papers that have burned throughout the past 48 hours here. And they're saying that they're finding body parts. And again, more body parts than they're actually finding bodies. The interesting thing is what is going to happen tonight? How will the rescue workers be affected by what we expect is going to be a major weather change? It's a beautiful, clear day today, but we expect that we might get some rain tonight. Will that affect what they have to do? Will it actually cool down the fires that are inside that are making it so dangerous for the rescue workers to get even closer? Or will it completely make things more difficult for them, obscure their view and make it physically more uncomfortable? That remains to be seen. Paula.
Michael, thank you so much for that update. We have talked so much over the last 24 hours or so of what it is like for many families in New York City who are awaiting news, either confirmation that they've lost a family member or a status report on their medical condition if in fact they were successfully transferred to one of these local hospitals. Joining us now is a man who is in that very painful kind of limbo that is Chris Mills. Welcome.
Thank you.
Who are you missing?
My girlfriend, Danielle Kasoulas. She worked for Cantor Fitzgerald in the second tower of the Trade Center to fall. I had received a phone call a little bit before 9 o'clock that a plane had hit the Trade Center. At that time, I don't think anyone knew the severity of what had happened. I had immediately run out of the building. I was working in Midtown to try to call her. I tried her on her office phone. I couldn't reach them. By the time I had gotten out to the street, I had friends who were calling me, telling me they were seeing what was going on down there and trying to get a hold of Danielle. I made it about 2 blocks or so before I could actually see the Trade Center, and I got her on the cell phone, and they were on the 104th floor.
You actually established contact with her on the cell phone?
I was talking to her, my cell phone to her cell phone. She was with other people. I don't know how many other people. They were scared. They didn't know what to do. I don't think they were getting a lot of information at that time. They had broken a window out to get air into the space. There was smoke. We spoke for a little while. I wish I could remember more of the conversation myself right now.
Could you hear hysteria in the background? Could you hear anything other than her voice?
You could hear people. You could hear people running around. There was pandemonium. I mean, it was very hard. I was walking on the street. I was, I couldn't really tell you what I heard in the background. We had gotten off of the phone. I don't think they knew the severity of the issue either. She had wanted to call her parents. Other people wanted to use the cell phone. I continued to make my way down to the Trade Center. I think I made it within about 5 blocks of the Trade Center, and I saw the first tower go down. And at that point, I think everybody sat there for a second or so and in disbelief.
Oh my God.
And then after the shock, that instant of shock wore off, it was run for your life. I mean, there was debris, there was dust, there was a wall of dust basically following everybody running from that area.